New York Botanical Gardens, it's Eating Well for Optimum Health with Dr. Andrew Weil. A graduate of Harvard Medical School and a leader in the field of integrative medicine, Dr. Weil explores how to make eating healthy and pleasurable and dispels the myths of today's fad diets. Now, here's Dr. Weil.
Hi, I'm Dr. Andrew Weil. I believe I know some of the secrets of good health and longevity, and I'm going to do my best to share some of them with you in this program as I teach you how to integrate some conventional and some alternative medical ideas that may change the way that you look at health and disease. I'm particularly going to talk about diet and health, food and nutrition, so that you won't be as confused about all the popular diets that are out there. Telling you so many different ways of eating that are in conflict with each other. I hope you'll leave this program not eating as much junk food, but I also hope that you will be getting at least as much enjoyment as you now do from food. And I'm going to teach you about how to put together an optimum diet that will maximally protect your health and longevity. First, let me tell you a little bit about my background. I'm trained as a botanist as well as a medical doctor. I did my undergraduate work in botany at Harvard. That was my first love, and I think it's very appropriate that we're here in this beautiful conservatory of the New York Botanical Garden in the Bronx. A lot of what I'm going to tell you tonight was based on my studies of plants and human beings' relationships with plants in many different cultures. I then went to Harvard Medical School, but I have never practiced conventional medicine. I've always practiced what I call integrative medicine, which is the thoughtful combination of many different systems with a healing perspective. I'm director of a program in integrative medicine at the University of Arizona, where we're trying to develop new models of medical education, new ways of training doctors to better equip them to serve consumers of health care. Part of that is going to be teaching doctors nutrition, which is something that's now really not taught in medical schools. I'd like to tell you a little bit about how my own beliefs evolved. First, they come from my own experience. I love to eat. I like to cook. I'm interested in food and health. They also come, as I said, from my studies in other cultures. I've always been very interested to see how different diseases occur in different cultures, whether we can make some inferences about relationship of diet and health by looking around the world, as well as looking to see whether there are particularly healthy diets out there that we could adapt to our own culture. They come from my studies of biochemistry and human nutrition, from my own research, and especially from a number of years of working with patients and using dietary change as a chief means of intervention, both to promote health and to deal with specific kinds of illnesses. Let me tell you what I hope this program will accomplish. I want to give you at least a quick overview of the basic facts of human nutrition, especially to equip you to dispel some of the confusion and deal with some of the myths out there about diet and health. I'd like to tell you about the relative importance of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats so you can understand what the best sources of those are, the right amounts to eat, the right combinations of them, how to prepare them, and so forth. I'd like to help you be better shoppers and to teach you how to read labels on food products so that you'll know whether any have particularly bad ingredients in them or are particularly good for you. I would like to teach you how to prepare food well and to enjoy preparing food. And I particularly want to equip you to be protected against some of the crazy nutritional philosophies that are out there today. You know, a lot of these diets, there's no question that you can lose weight short term on some of these diets that are being popularized, but as long-term strategies for eating, they are not healthy, and some of them are actually dangerous. And then I want to give you some specific advice about how to put together an optimum diet. That is one that will maximally protect your health, and especially as you age, and guarantee that you'll reach your older years in good health. And I want to also emphasize that eating has many purposes other than just serving health. You know, it's a primary means of identifying yourself, of enjoying social connection, of experiencing pleasure. You know, I don't want to sacrifice any of those principles in telling you how to eat. And I will not promise anything that I can't deliver. I'm not going to tell you that there's a way of eating that's going to make you live forever, or that will grow hair, or that will enable you to lose weight magically without changing the amount that you eat. but I certainly will give you recommendations for a best diet, and I'm going to try as much as possible to give you practical advice that you can take away from this program and implement. Advice about dining out, about purchasing food, preparing food, about using specific foods to treat particular medical conditions. And if there's one idea that you take away from this, it should be that there is no opposition between eating for health and eating for pleasure. I think many people... Many people in our culture think that if it's good for you, you're not going to like it. And I'm here to tell you that's not so, that it is possible to get as much or more pleasure out of healthy food as it is out of unhealthy food. So let me begin by outlining for you a number of principles that underlie my philosophy. You know, I call these principles of eating well. And just to start, the first one is that we have to eat to live. I mean, that's obvious. Our bodies require energy. The beating of the heart, circulation of the blood, movement of digestive organs, all of these are energetic phenomena. And they are powered by the metabolic engine of our body. That engine needs fuel. The source of all fuel ultimately is the sun. Calories represent solar energy that has been captured by green plants, stored by them, and transformed into forms that other organisms can use. That's a very neat trick that these plants do. Plants eat light. That frees them, by the way, of the existential problem that we have of having to live at the expense of other life. We have to eat plants that have captured sunlight or eat the flesh of animals that have eaten plants. Beyond fuel as a basic requirement for life, eating is a major source of pleasure. Psychologists call it a primary reinforcer, meaning that it has tremendous power to shape behavior. This is something you can see in all animals. If you take a hungry animal and present it with food after it does something that you want it to do more frequently, it'll do it more frequently. And that's the way the trainers are able to shape animal behavior in utterly amazing directions for performances in circuses and movies, for example. I think it's important to note that not all of us respond to food in the same way, that there are some people who do not experience pleasure from food as their primary source of pleasure. Maybe they get it from sex, maybe they get it from other things. Because eating is a source of pleasure, it can become the focus of addictive behavior. Addictive eating is actually a more difficult problem to treat than drug addiction, because while people can live without drugs, they can't live without eating. I think it's important to realize that when people eat addictively and excessively, often they're trying to self-medicate because eating has powerful effects on brain chemistry. You know, many people who eat immoderately and addictively are actually trying to decrease anxiety, to treat depression, to affect body energy levels. I think that makes excessive and addictive eating more interesting than simply looking at it as an unhealthy habit. But I think for many people, eating is a primary source of pleasure. By the way, one observation that I've made is that many of the experts out there who tell us how to eat are not the people who enjoy food. And that's just been my observation. And they don't get it, that a very important aspect of eating is pleasure. That can't be sacrificed in trying to design a healthy diet. So I just want to emphasize as a basic principle underlying this philosophy, again, that food that is healthy and food that gives pleasure are not mutually exclusive. And that is the single most important philosophy of my program. Next, eating is a very important focus of social interaction. The act of sharing food with another person or other people is a fundamental human bond. This is, again, something that you can observe in the animal world. The word companion in English comes from the Latin root for bread. A companion is someone that you eat bread with. In Japanese, there is a phrase for an intimate companion is someone who eats rice from the same bowl. So I think this is a perception that has been seen around the world. And if you think about the ways that people come together around eating, you can see how important this is in our lives, whether it's power breakfasts, business lunches, romantic dinners. And here again, this principle has to be respected, because if a diet that you propose to people interferes with social connectivity, if you are eating in a way that makes it impossible for you to share the same kind of food with other people, that's not going to work. I think it's also important to keep in mind that how we eat